Hey, it's Jay with 1791, coming back at you with the first in our series of uh, regarding setting up your Lee reloading dies, and we're starting off with the decapping and resizing die. Decapping or depriming, as I guess is probably a more appropriate term, but we all call it decapping. Is the process whereby you take a previously fired case and you press the spent primer out of the bottom of the case, hence depriming or decapping. The die that's used for that, this is the Lee, this is a Lee die. All of the dies that I'm using in this series are Lee. This particular set is a 4-die set. There's also a 3-die set. We'll get into why that is a little bit later. But my preference, talk about my personal preference on die selection is the Lee dies. Number one, they're less expensive than most other brands, but at the same time, they are carbide lined. So they slide in and out a lot smoother than, and you don't have to lubricate as much different brass when you're using one of these carbide dies. There are other brands that also have carbide. I believe RCBS does, but they also come with a shell holder appropriate to whatever caliber the die set is for. So you don't have to go out and buy a bunch of shell holders, or wonder all the time, well, I'm reloading this. What shell holder do I need? Well, the shell holder for that caliber is right there in the box. Now, this is not a Lee box. When I picked this die set up, it wasn't in a box, and so I 3D printed one with the 4 cradles, so that it'll go in my drawer unit that I print. But the other reason that I like the Lee dies is the design of their decapping pin, and that we're going to zoom in a little bit here. Most manufacturers, the decapping pin actually screws into the die body and then has a lock nut that holds it from moving. What that results in is if you happen to press a case up into the die that has an obstruction in the area of the primer, or if the primer is crimped in, a lot of times it'll generate enough pressure to snap the end of that pin off, which in a way I suppose that's a good thing, and there's an entire industry around manufacturing and selling replacement decapping pins. That's okay. But Lee, and I've been using this particular die. This is for 357 Magnum and 38 Special, and I've been using this one for a couple of years now. And I have actually encountered obstruction a few times where there was something down in the case, but rather than breaking the pin, the Lee is held in with a collet, and you can see how it slides down through there. Well, with enough pressure on the pin, it'll actually slide up and protrude out the top of the collet. That prevents you from breaking the pin, and then all you have to do is tap that back down until it's at your appropriate depth, and then you just make sure that this is good and tight. Now, the downside of these is when you first get it, you have to get this set to the right amount of tension. And it takes putting a wrench both on this shoulder and on the collet head in order and get it cinched down so that you can make sure that you've got the right amount of tension required to make it slide, and that it doesn't slide out too easily. So that's how the Lee decapping and resizing die is built. The other part of that name is resizing. When you fire a round, it actually stretches the brass just a little bit. A lot of times it'll stretch lengthwise. It's called fire forming, and shape itself to the chamber. But it also expands the mouth of the case just a little bit, and can stretch the entire case. So you need to return that to its original size. And you can see it doesn't just slip right into there. It needs to go through the press in order to get pressed down in there, and it'll squeeze that back down to the original size. So there's a little bit about why you have to start with decapping and resizing. So let's talk a little bit about how do you set this thing up. Well, first of all, you need to put your shell holder in the top of the ram. It just snaps right in there. And then you bring the ram all the way up. Turn this die down in. Now, everything that I'm going through is actually, as far as the setup here, actually is in the manual. Lee does a really good job of providing documentation with the dies on how to set them up. But a lot of times people still get a little bit confused. That's why I'm doing this series. And I know I'm not the only guy out there doing videos on how to set up dies, but I'm just kind of joining that club. Hopefully you'll learn something here, and if you like it, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. So once I'm going to turn this down right till it touches the shell holder, which is right there. Now I'm going to lower my ram just a little bit, and there's flat shoulders on here. So I grab a hold right there so that I can kind of gauge how far I'm turning it down. And I want to turn that down just about a quarter turn. Bring my ram back up. Now you'll notice there's a little bit of wobble. When I bring my ram up and press down until it cams over, now there's no movement. So I can turn my jam nut down and grab my trusty channel locks and just give that jam nut a little tug. Now, it doesn't have to be King Kong tight, okay? You don't have to muscle that in. You just want to snug it down enough so that this can't move. And when I lower my ram, see, I can actually move the entire bench just by grabbing hold of that die. So that's how you set up a decapping and resizing die. At which point you would put this has already been deprimed, so this is just for demonstration, and I don't have my primer catcher hanging on the sides of the press right now. But you press that up in there, and at that point it would have removed the spent primer, and you're ready to go to the next step. So I appreciate you stopping in, and hope you learned something. Hope you'll stick around. We'll be back for another video here shortly where we're going to talk about the powder through case mouth expansion die. As always, thanks for stopping by. God bless and see you on the other side.